My name is Monica Gleberman, and you're listening to Silence on Set podcast. On today's podcast, we're releasing the fully extended version of my interview with the cast of Tell Me Lies Season 2. If you have not watched the show, this is your spoiler warning. This interview is the entire set of questions that I asked the cast, which includes spoilers. So if you have not watched Season 2, pause this, go watch it, and come back. So here's your final warning. Okay, so Tell Me Lies Season 2 picks up as Lucy Albright and Stephen DeMarco return to college, not speaking after their dramatic breakup at the start of the summer. Yet, while very much at odds, they find themselves in a new version of their addicted dynamic, which is as infuriating as it is inescapable. Meanwhile, the story expands deeper into the lives of Lucy and Stephen's friend group as the fallout from Season 1 impacts all of their lives in an unexpected way. So to start us off, here's showrunner and executive producer Megan Oppenheimer.
You had a huge task, right? Because you had a book and you had some material to start off with. And then I don't know how you jump from that to Season 2 with where do we continue? How do we continue the story? So how did you do this? Because you're a genius. I always call you a genius.
I felt like I had a lot of freedom to just play because we were starting from scratch. And I think, we set up so many conundrums for each character in Season 1 that it was sort of just like, okay, we know where we left them. So there are a million different ways we could go. So, it was obviously a challenge, but it was very fun. Yeah. And I just, it's a lot of Adderall and sleepless nights of just thinking and wheels turning.
Do a lot of the writers and you share personal stories to add in or?
Oh yeah. We could all just completely blackmail other. We could destroy each other's lives with the stuff that we know about each other from the writer's room. You get to know each other very well, very quickly.
What were you most excited about the season? Because a lot of the characters are in different places than they were last season. I feel like Stephen's kind of collecting cards, but trying to be good. You have Lucy who's really trying to change this season. So it seems like everyone's on a kind of different mission. So what were you most excited about for the character arc? Is there a specific character?
I was excited to see the ensemble characters have more to do. That was really exciting for me. I think with Stephen, it's always how can we top what he did before? How do we go crazier and weirder? So that's always just fun. With Lucy, I think it was nice to see her softer side and her trying to be a good friend and give her some more moments of playfulness because Grace is so funny and she doesn't get a lot of opportunity to be funny in Season 1. And I think we see more of that. But I think with everyone, each of our characters just has so much more to do. I think that Kat's storyline, Bree's storyline really just devastated me. And I think Bree was so impactful Season 1, but had not as much screen time as some people. And so it was great to give Bree such a big storyline.
And I want to make sure I ask you about two scenes in particular. But in the first episode where we're in kind of the future past, but we're in the future and Stephen gets his hair cut. And there's a moment where Lucy stands there and is staring at him and he's kind of looking around and almost oh my gosh, my hair's cut. I don't know. To me, that was such a moment. So I want to ask you about that scene and then the final scene with the voicemail, which by the way, I just my mouth dropped.
The haircut scene. So it was kind of funny because there was just a lot of backlash on Twitter about Stephen's long hair. Everyone thought it was a wig. And so I just thought I was we just have to do something with that long hair in the future storyline. Also, we couldn't have Jackson, we shaved his head Season 1, so we couldn't have him wearing a wig all of Season 2 in the 2015 storyline. So some of it was just logistical. We got to cut his hair. We got to shave his head. But I think for Lucy, she's seeing him, he looks like his old self then. And it's oh my God, when you see someone and their hair is different, it's, there's a bit of a disconnect, but she sees him that moment and he looks just like he did when they were together. And so it's oh my God, this ghost is back from the dead. And then what was the other scene?
The voicemail.
So that's really funny because that was not the original ending. And I kept going back and forth and back and forth. And then finally I needed that to happen. And so I was on set and I rewrote the scene and then I sent it to our script coordinator and I didn't know she was going to distribute it literally that day. And so then after lunch that day, everyone's like walking around on their phones and they're like, oh my God, the new scene. So I was like, how are people reading this already? So that was fun. I think it just needed to be that Stephen needed to drop a bomb while he was already in an escape car. I realized if he's going to get revenge, he's going to make sure that he's far away from the fallout. But also, that song, the Mr. Brightside, that's Kat singing it. That's Kat Missal. And I just was so excited to do that callback because everyone had a lot of reactions to that song season 1. So I thought it was really fun to bring that back.
But I will do a quick shout out that I asked you right away. The beginning song of Crazy is also Kat, right? So she has a beautiful voice.
That's unbelievable. Kat is so wildly talented. It's actually unfair.
Next up is Sonia, Mena and Alicia Crowder.
Y'all are together. So I'm assuming you're getting scripts kind of like as they go, but like when you read that, were you like, yes, this makes total sense? Because when I was watching it, I went, this makes complete sense. But before you start filming, I don't know if it makes complete sense or not. So how did you guys feel when you read it and you were like, oh my gosh, we're together. Like, this is awesome. This is rad.
I was going to say that I was really surprised. Like, I did not see this coming. I was totally blindsided. But as the season progresses and we kind of see, how they get there and, how they make each other's lives better throughout the season, it makes a lot of sense. And it's so exciting. Like, I love it.
I was very surprised. I did not see it coming. Megan told me before we got the scripts, and then we didn't get them for a while because of the strike. And so it was a lot of mystery to me of like, how does this happen? And then, yeah, really interesting to see like those little breadcrumbs through the scripts and then filling it out even more while we're shooting and just like, yeah, how do we make it make sense? How do we understand that these two people end up together, especially when they're really at odds for a lot of it. So it was fun. Yeah.
And I have a question for you, which I know is hard for actors to answer because it's not, I know you guys don't write the show, but in that finale, I couldn't help but think, okay, they're together, which I'm like super excited about. So you got Pip and Diana together. They've both been fucked over by Stephen multiple times. Lucy, who's trying to be a better person. Like, I mean, I don't know if we necessarily want to fuck over another girl per se, but she's been fucked over by Stephen, right? So like, can we all like Bree in the finale with the voicemail fucked over by Stephen? So can we assume that maybe, hopefully at some point, these women get together and are like, let's work like we're the female Avengers and get this guy done?
I have been pitching to Megan for years that we all just get swords and it's a bloodbath and we just get revenge. I know it's a little bit of a different genre, but I think it could happen.
Yeah, just full Julius Caesar. I mean, that would be so nice. Like, I think that Diana and Lucy have a little bit of that in the wedding where there's this camaraderie of like, yeah, like we just are on, thank God, well, Lucy less so, but like we're on paper, we're both on the other side of it,
right?
And have like moved on. Lucy not so much, but I think that there's also definitely, off screen, I imagine that, Diana and Pippa have those conversations of like, wow, what a horrible person that like we are both gonna have to like now go interact with at this wedding. So I think that like they're on the same page. Like they have come together obviously in a lot of different ways, but yeah, that would be so nice. I would love that.
Yeah,
I'm down for a sword fight. I love Alicia. You're like, yeah, so a sword fight. I mean, that'd be cool.
Yeah,
that wouldn't be bad.
I mean,
just like attack.
The best revenge is a life well lived, but that's really not the show we're on, and nobody wants to watch that.
It's not what the people want.
But I feel like you are all smart enough. Like, these are very smart women. So I feel like there's a way, I mean, to get him. So I'm just saying we need to get him in season 3. I'm putting that out there.
I'm here for it.
Yeah, same.
So I want to ask both of you, what was it like for your characters this season? Because Pippa has a very crazy arc. And one of them that is most important and that was emotional for me was obviously the possible, which turns out to be, I think, a little more of a actual sexual assault. So Sonia, for you, like, what was that in your headspace, processing that and making that work? And then Alicia, for you, your character sees the scariness of Stephen and uses her brain, which made me so excited, to get out of it by faking that her scores are not good and like all of these things to get away from him. So what was it like for both of you to play those roles? And then I'm just going to add one more thing. And what are you most excited about for the season?
Yeah, I think it was really heavy. It's obviously like it's just a really hard storyline, and it's like very important to me, and I wanted to make sure we did it right. And I think there's really no like justice or catharsis or anything for Pippa. So like tracking her, making her journey active, right? Like it's not about her not doing anything, it's about her choosing over and over again not to do anything, and finding all the reasons why that keeps happening so that it feels surprising, and even though she might be stuck, she doesn't know that she is, if that makes sense. So I mean, I just think everyone in this cast is so good, and I'm just excited for everyone's arcs and for people to just like watch it. I think like people bring just so much to it, and it's yeah, I just feel really lucky, so I'm excited for everyone to have a good bad time.
Yeah, about like the big elaborate ruse, I think that because Stephen is also so smart and so manipulative and good at lying, it pushes Diana to like make this the most convincing act and performance of all time. Like it makes her have to cover her tracks in every single way because she knows that like Stephen is not someone who's easily fooled. So it makes her have to like work even harder. And the thing I'm most excited about is us, Diana and Pippa. Like I can't wait to see people's reaction to that. I think it's going to be so exciting and so fun, and you know, like bring a lot of like visibility to things that you don't always see, that you haven't seen in the show yet. So I cannot wait for that.
Here's Brandon Cook, Spencer House, and Thomas Doherty.
All right, so Thomas, I'm going to start with you, with Leo. Talk to me about creating Leo into this world, right? Because you're coming in, they're all friends, everyone knows everyone, but you do have a connection to the friendship group. So what did you work on to make him kind of seamlessly fit in, but also have, you know, a trauma? Basically.
I mean, I don't know if I can take credit for the seamlessly fitting in part. That was definitely Megan and the writers for sure. And I was just saying before, it was such a already well fleshed out, developed character. I was only able to bring my own experiences being that age. And that was one thing when I read the script, I felt very connected to Leo and could see a lot of myself in him. So I guess it was just putting that emotion into an already very well written character. And Megan's was always so open for changes and actor participation, if you like, in the script. But yeah, I mean, it really didn't need much. It was already very well established. And answer the question?
Yeah, no, that answers good. Yeah, that works. I'm with the boys. We can say whatever. It's good. It'll work.
Just being able to see a lot of my younger self in Leo and kind of go back and it almost became quite a cathartic experience a lot of the time, kind of tapping back into that mindset of wanting to be my own person and develop my own sense of self and have my own place in the world.
I think a lot of people relate to it, which is why I think a lot of people are going to love the add-on of Leo, because, you know, it's something that a lot of people go through, and it's just interesting to see how he handles kind of all the drama, everything that's going on, his trauma. So I think fans are going to be very excited when they see it. Brandon and Spencer, you guys, this season killed me. There's one scene specifically, Spencer, I'm sure you know I'm going to ask about, that's spoilerish. But for the two of you, I wanted to ask, you know, how was it for both of you? You guys were like the fun and the good one last season until the very end. Me and Brandon, we talked about this. I was like, you almost made it out, but those were the fun, good ones last season. This season, there's a lot of drama for your characters. So what was it like this season kind of shifting and playing more on the dramatic side with a lot of the drama, the lies, the hiding? Brandon, I'll start with you.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, as an actor, that's what you want, is to like be able to engage with the drama, you know? So it was fun to be able to engage a little more there and have stuff to play around with. Probably wasn't as fun for Evan, but yeah, I think he'll be all right.
Spencer, what about for you? You know, switching, you know, Wrigley is like the life of the party and he just goes through so much this season. So what was that like, switching that for you?
I thought it was really fun. You know, he's like forcing the life of the party persona, and he's having a a hard time. So I mean, the worse it gets for the character, the better it gets for me at my job. So yeah, I was happy with it.
I cried twice during the season. And obviously one of those times was Wrigley and his brother, that whole thing happening. So for you, like, having that scene and having it weigh on Wrigley and just the whole thing, how was that as an actor? How did you prepare and how did you like mentally separate? Because that's a lot.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. I mean, you have to go to that place and get all weird, but I enjoy it. And I was just saying earlier too that it was kind of funny because you're doing those kinds of scenes, but in one of the scenes that I think was the darkest for Wrigley, I like right when we got out of it, I checked my phone and my niece was born. So it's like, life continues to happen, and it's fine. Life is good, and it's fun doing those like dark scenes. It doesn't carry over as much as people think. Yeah.
Well, you did such a great job in that whole sequence, that whole part of that episode, and then kind of explaining where he is mentally later, which we didn't know why. It was beautiful. It was beautifully done. So just congratulations on that scene, because
Thank
that
you.
whole thing, I cried. So it was amazing. I want to ask all three of you. I love you guys. And I know this show is like very dramatic and you're getting asked the same questions all day, right? Mm-hmm. So what's something like fun, that I know there's a lot of hijinks that happen on set. You guys, there's a lot of like fun stuff that happens. So did that continue over from season 1 to this season? Were there anything fun to kind of lighten the mood? Did y'all go out? So I remember last year you were staying at a house together at one point that was awful. The house of hell with thunder and all sorts of crazy stuff. How was this season with all three of you? Just hanging out, Thomas getting to know everybody. So what was that like? Is there anything fun that we can kind of end on with all of you?
It could be really fun because we wanted to get very much into the mindset of that age in 2008. So we had Halo set up in one room, and when we were in between takes, we'd go like keep ourselves active, playing Halo, and then we'd throw the football outside,
and we'd lose the football, and we
lost for a long time. So yeah, I mean, it was a blast on like especially. That usually happened in like the Thanksgiving episode, I think. So that it's a fun time.
And just really quickly, who's the Halo champion as of right now?
Probably
definitely not me.
Yeah. Probably me. I played a lot as a.
He said probably me.
Jackson and I still play all the time.
I'm the one that like almost is good. I'm like almost.
Well, I thought I was good, but then I got online one day and realized that these kids are now like professionally playing it, and I die immediately. I don't last at all.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the young kids, like I'm so old, but like
they
have 2-1 or like 3-1 or 3-2.
No, I can't keep the 15-year-olds nowadays.
Here's Tom Ellis and Kat Missal.
Kat, you did a phenomenal job. I just want you to know, when I was watching the screeners, right after the first episode, I messaged Megan and I was like, who sang that song Crazy at the end? And right away she was like, Kat did. And I was like, no way. And then when I saw the finale, I mentioned another song and she was like, that's her. So girl, you can sing.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I was so excited that Megan wanted me to do something like that. It was so much fun, and it's cool to get to be a part of the show in a different way as well.
Yeah. Tom, you had mentioned in an interview this is one of the darkest characters you've ever played. I wanted to know what kind of darkness you found in him, because he's a little manipulative, he kind of gives bad advice. There's a lot of like things about him, but I do feel like he does like Bree, so it's like confusing. So what's the darkness that you found, and how did you work through that?
It was more about finding out how hollow he was. I always try and find something to like about a character that I'm playing, or some kind of redeeming feature. And I really, really struggled with Oliver. I think, playing out a genuine connection, a genuine sort of fascination is one thing, but as the story goes on, you realize that that's probably quite surface for Oliver. And his main concern is himself. And, he doesn't think about consequences or anything like that. And so I had to kind of, in many ways, I had to desensitize to play him and to play it effectively. And it wasn't really until we'd finished and wrapped and I'd sort of thought about everything that Oliver had done that I realised how despicable and deplorable he was. And, come to the conclusion that I can't like all of the characters that I play. But that's not my job either. My job is to kind of add to the storytelling and be effective within that. And yeah, it was a strange feeling to come away from, but I'm really proud of the work that we did, for sure.
You know, Kat, for you, for Bree, I just love her. There was a poll online too. I think it was like one of the most lovable characters, and people were picking, and Bree won by like a landslide. People just adore her. So for you, what was it like? Because Bree's kind of like the quiet one, and she kind of feels railroaded. And now there's this guy, you know, a professor, but married professor, but there's a guy that's interested in her and is not railroading her in her mind. So what was it like for you to play that arc? Because that's really hard to play. You know, it's such a fine line, right? Like you don't want to come off like, oh, I'm such a victim, but at the same time, you know, so how did you handle that?
I mean, I just took it step by step with the story, and I was riding the wave along with her. But I wanted to approach this season with an undercurrent of maybe more of a manipulation than you might be like realize. I mean, she's had such a rough background, and I think that aids in a lot of the way that this relationship plays out. You know, I think she's obviously kind of manipulated, and she's getting into the situation from a very naive point of view, and she's vulnerable, and it kind of spirals out of control. But I think she's so desperately clings on to the idea from, you know, not only what Oliver has given her to believe, but also the way that she acts towards him and the way that she tries to manipulate the situation to kind of keep him, you know, holding on.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an interesting, I find your relationship, you know, between Oliver and Bree the most interesting for me this season, because it's such a fine line, right? It's like one character, if they went too far over somewhere, it would just blow up, and they kind of teeter back and forth. So I wanted to know for both of you, you know, what was it like getting towards the end of the season? You know, obviously Bree's talking to somebody on the phone. We can sort of assume, unless there's somebody else, that maybe she's talking to Oliver. Oliver maybe isn't as hollow like towards the very end. Maybe there is something there. So can you guys talk about just the end, like the last two episodes between the two of you, and what we can kind of expect with that crazy finale?
Oh my gosh. Well, I know. I mean, there's a lot to unpack, really. I would love to think that the way that we leave it, that there is some room for redemption, possibly with Oliver, that he does have some room for reflection. I don't know if that's the case, and I really don't know if that's him on the phone, but
We all want to know.
a lot of people seem to think it might be. So I don't know, but I think it is a fine line, and there is that question at the end of like, were any of these feelings real? Like, I think Bree's feeling that. And I think Oliver probably is asking himself that question, even though he probably doesn't have much of a capacity to really sort of look inwardly. But I think I find it hard to believe, once I've watched it, that there isn't any feeling there whatsoever. So maybe there is some scope for the future.
What about for you, Kat? Do you think any type of redemption for these two, or what's going to happen with that finale and that phone call and the voicemail? I mean, there's just so much going on.
I hope there's redemption for Bree. All I want is a redemption story for Bree. But yeah, I mean, I think there's excitement in the unknown. So I think we'll just have to wait and see.
And finally, here's Grace Van Patten and Jackson White.
So I wanted to ask, what's more fun for the two of you? Is it more fun to like aggressively go at one another? Or is it more fun to have like the romantic scenes, or where you guys maybe aren't hating each other fully?
Hate.
Really?
Hate.
Why is that?
Yeah, it's our therapy.
It's great. You get to go to work and have fights.
we just fight on set. It's perfect.
Yeah, it's kind of sick. Yeah, it's really fun. I love when we get to raise our voices, and we don't get to do that as much as I want to.
Yeah, pretty like contained and controlled and angry, but it is so fun, and it's kind of similar. Whether you're playing like lustful desire or vengeance, it's still tension. It's still like, it's a very similar emotion. It's just, we got to do it a lot more with a tinge of anger this season, which was really fun.
Loaded nachos.
Yeah.
You guys, the finale. My mouth was dropping like left and right. But there's a scene prior to that between the two of you where you're in, I don't know if it's like, it's not really cafeteria, but like you're walking, Grace is walking by. So Lucy's walking by Stephen, he's sitting, and you have the conversation where you say like, I really did love you. Like, yes, like I knew you were a bad person. I didn't care. I loved everything about you. And like she walks out and I almost like cried. It was like such an emotional scene. And I feel like something changes in Stephen when he hears it. It's like something he's never heard really before. So for the two of you, what was that scene like for both of you? Because it was like major for me.
Watching it back, I loved it. I mean, it's obviously so different when you're making it because you're like, it's very different. But seeing it back, it was so cool. I really like that scene a lot too. It's very like surrender, white flag. Like what the hell are we doing here? And I think they both kind of understand it at that moment. Or he does at least.
Yeah, I love that's really kind of the turning point for them when they both start to realize that they might be the only ones for each other in terms of accepting the bad qualities of each other. And where in any other relationship, they will not be able to be seen or be loved. And them realizing that both of them see that in each other and can still admire them is a crazy thing, but there's something kind of beautiful in that. Not that anyone should be in that type of relationship, but the concept of seeing somebody in a relationship is nice.
It's beautiful. It was really a beautiful scene between the two of you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
So for both of you, we don't see that many scenes with you guys this season, but for the scenes that we do have with both of you, I feel like Lucy's on a mission to try to be a better person. You have Stephen who's like trying, well, I should say for both of you in quotes, trying to be a better person, but he's like clocking those cards. Like when I need to use them, I need to use them. But for now, it seems relatively calm-ish.
Yeah.
Of you. So what's going on with both of your characters this season? Why are they kind of a little bit calmer for them?
Well, Stephen's inner question going on the whole time is, am I a bad person or did I do bad things? And he's just questioning it. So there is something going on. He's trying to see if he can make amends for everything and be a good guy.
Yeah. It's really similar for Lucy. I think they're really both trying to redeem themselves, and for Lucy trying to overcompensate and solidify those relationships with the girls, with the friendships, and trying to be there for them and trying to do it in a way where she doesn't have to say her sorry or admit to anything she did wrong, but is able to be there for them and support them through both of their journeys that we see them go on this season, which I loved. I really love that part about this season.
Do you think both of them are redeemable?
Oh gosh, time will tell. As of now, no. But
I think they both have little moments that feel real, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot of things to redeem. It might be too much. The ratio is kind of off, but they have redeemable qualities.
You're positive. I'm negative. I'm like, no.
No, I'm trying to.
Well, that's yin and yang between the two of you, so that makes sense.
Yeah, it tracks.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed listening to the cast of Tell Me Lies talk about this current season. The show is crazy and really outdid itself after season 1. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you have not watched it and listened to this, all 8 episodes of the second season are now available on Hulu. It premiered on September 4th, but the entire season is streaming. So make sure you head over to Hulu and check it out. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you're updated on all of our latest podcasts. And head over to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe so you're updated on all of our video content.